to the giant Pitching for the Future track. Today we're going to be really doing that. In the next hour, you're going to be listening to some fabulous presentations from startups who are involved in the Edison Accelerator, which is a collaboration between GE Healthcare and Wayra. The future of innovation is about working across silos, and I think the COVID pandemic has shown the benefits of that. So we need to involve the startups, the research centers, hospitals, clinicians, and patients. Edison Accelerator was launched in May, and the cohort's been running from May into November. And today at Giant Health, that's the culmination of the program. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Jan Beger, who is the Senior Director of Digital Ecosystem at GE Healthcare and the head of the Edison Accelerator program. Welcome, Jan.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I hope you can hear me well. It feels like a little bit of a living room. We are not having enough space, so it's great to see a lot of interest here. Look, the next 30 minutes, we would like to walk you through our Edison Accelerator program. I'll talk about the concept, the idea behind the next couple of minutes, and then our startup companies will present their solutions. To get started, and I hope you agree, from my perspective, I believe there are just a few other industries that are as complex, comprehensive, and fascinating as healthcare. And look, headlines suggest when we read newspapers that artificial intelligence has already surpassed the performance of human doctors in many medical fields. And this is something which, right, I believe the most of you agree with me, which stands in stark contrast to clinical reality. Reality is that today, right, compared to other industries, healthcare is behind in terms of digital transformation and the adoption of technologies such as AI. And as you probably know, in a lot of countries, healthcare still heavily relies on fax machines. But other than this, and let me see if this works here now somehow. Other than this, of course, healthcare has a lot of really pressing problems. Number one is what you can see on my slide is really the explosion of healthcare data. Today, it just takes 73 days to double medical data. This is just from now until, I think, early February. There are 6,000 medical journals out there publishing 900,000 articles a year. As a GP, if you want to keep up with the primary care literature, you would have to read for 21 hours each and every day. There is more information in a mammogram than there is information in the telephone book of New York, not knowing if there is still like a physical telephone book. And then as a radiologist, for example, in a 12-hour shift, you are looking at about 50,000 images compared to just 515 years ago. So massive amount of data we have to deal with in our industry. In addition to this, medical errors is a serious problem we face. For every 100 hospitalizations per year, there are approximately 14 adverse events that occur, leading to 40 million medical errors each and every year. And it's estimated in Europe that around 350,000 people die every year due to medical errors, which is like the population of Cardiff or Leicester here in the UK. And then also a pressing problem, especially here in the country, the shortage of healthcare professionals. Globally, it's about 7 million healthcare professionals missing right now, and it's expected in 2035 that around 14 million healthcare professionals are missing due to retirements and not enough young people entering the space. And look, in addition to this, you all know this, right? The demand is going up, the complexity is increasing, and care pathways become more and more complex. And then, right, with the COVID crisis, I'm sure you have heard this several times already today. COVID has really, from my perspective, advanced the awareness of digital solutions, highlighted the importance. And this is overall the environment in which we have started the program I would like to talk about with you today. What we definitely can see is that we as an industry need to move things forward much faster, much more dynamic, nimble, and collaborative than in the past. And right, because you see all those pressing problems, there is no way that a single player in our industry can solve those problems on their own. So the Edison Accelerator is our G Healthcare Startups Acceleration and Healthcare Provider Collaboration Program, which we have launched together with our partner Wayra. And let me talk a little bit about the objectives of the program. But first of all, let me briefly explain this term corporate accelerator, which I'm sure that most of you are very familiar with. I mean, from my perspective, and I simplify it to the max, right? The corporate accelerator, there is this big corporate coming up with some fancy ideas and then trying to find some innovative startups to work on those. I believe this doesn't work in healthcare. What we need to do in our industry, we need to involve those who deliver healthcare day in and day out. They need to be part of such open innovation programs from day one on. So, and because, right, when we especially talk about solutions like artificial intelligence, and unlike other like technology booms in healthcare, right, when it comes to AI, we need to involve healthcare institutions, but because they are so important, especially for the adoption of those technologies. And the foundation of our program is really to identify the most pressing problems healthcare institutions have, and then find the right startups, the right companies to build technology solutions for those defined problems. Because what we have seen in the startup ecosystem in healthcare is that there are a lot of great knowledge and experience, developers, engineers, data scientists out there. What they are often lacking is validated problem statements. And this is what a program like this can help with. Another objective of the program is, of course, to support those innovative startups and help them go to market. In addition to this, you can see this on my slide as well. One of the objectives is also to support and further grow this innovation ecosystem, this digital health innovation ecosystem that exists across Europe. And then, of course, with all the things we do, right, in partnership, in co-creation, in collaboration, we want to make an impact as quickly as we can. So on the next slide, let me just explain a little bit like the stakeholder map of our program. On the left-hand side, you can see G Healthcare. What we do in this program is, first of all, we provide, let's say, the technology stack, what we call the Edison platform, which is, in a nutshell, on one hand side, a technology or a platform to aggregate healthcare data, right, and then make it available for a variety of different application and use cases in different, let's say, care pathways and domains. We also, in this program, provide, of course, mentorship, like technology business mentorship, and then at a later stage, give the opportunity and expose our startup companies to our global customer base. On top, you can see startups. Pretty simple. They are asked to work on specific given problem statements. I come to this in a second again. On the right, you can see healthcare provider institutions. A very, very important stakeholder in our program, because what they do is things like define together with us what are the use cases, what are the problem statements we want to work on in a program like this. They help us and are part of the startup selection process during the scouting phase. They provide clinical mentorship, right? And last but not least, at a later stage in the program, they provide an opportunity for our companies to run pilots and proof of concepts. You can see also Wayra here on the slide, very important partner to make a program like this work, not just for the day-to-day program management, right, to run the scouting, but also with all the great work the team at Wayra has done around venture support, mentoring, marketing, and events. So a great help, right, for this kind of group of stakeholders to make this program work. And then you can also see like big tech in the lower left-hand side, our technology partners, which not just provide technology, right, or infrastructure or tools for our sandboxes and development environments. They do more. What we also do with Intel and AWS is on a regular basis have a look to their startup programs and see if there are companies in there that could transition to ours or vice versa. Yeah. And they also contribute to our mentorship curriculum. So just a few numbers. Right, this year was the first year we have been running this program. We continue next year. I will talk about this in a second a bit more. We had more than 350 applications to the Edison Accelerator earlier this year. We then shortlisted 15 companies and selected and onboarded 6 of them. And today, right, when I'm done in a few minutes with my talk, you will see 5 of them presenting here today. And look, this is important to know. Intentionally, we decided to work with a rather small number of companies. Reason is we want to be laser focused. We want to put all our efforts into a small number to do our best to make them successful. Yeah. So also next year, when we start our scouting process and the program for 2022, it will be a small number of companies to work with. So let me talk once more about the important role of healthcare provider institutions. Look, what we do is we are bringing together healthcare institutions, healthcare professionals closely with those, right? I mean, agile startups with those great data scientists, engineers, and developers. And the healthcare providers provide like advisory guidance. To some extent, then they can sometimes even steer the development, provide mentoring, and so on and so forth. On the right-hand side, you can see what we call validation partners. Those are the ones, right, institutions I will show you in a second with whom we worked with this year. They have helped us selecting the right companies. They have been very close to our startups throughout the year, provided data for AI development if required. We connected our development sandboxes to their environments, right, to get data if that was needed. And they also offered opportunities to run pilot and proof of concepts. But look, in this model, when you just bring one startup and one healthcare provider closely together, there is a great chance that you can build a solution, right, that's fit for purpose, that helps solving the problem you have defined initially. But there is also a risk, which is that you build a solution that is so tailored and custom for this single institution, which you cannot scale. So therefore, we decided for next year to introduce like another group of healthcare institutions to work with. We call them consulting partners. They are also very close to the startups. They can also steer and influence the development to some extent, but it's like watching from the outside. We will not put any technology on their side, right? They can even sit in another European country. It's like another pair of eyes, really, to make sure we build solutions that solve the problem, but that are also scalable. That's the idea. So let me just quickly show you content-wise what we have been working on in 2021. So what you can see here are the 3 different work streams or tracks we have been working on the last couple of months. On the left-hand side, this was really all about accelerating the adoption of artificial intelligence in medical imaging, right? I think maybe the most of you know that when it comes to AI overall in healthcare or AI adoption in healthcare, I would say medical imaging is really at the forefront. Yeah? We see a lot of, especially in radiology, we see a lot of algorithms, companies working in that space. But overall, globally, adoption rate is still very low. And what we try to do in our track 1 is really to focus on getting those great solutions really into the hospital, into day-to-day use. The second track we have been working on is all about how can we use digital technologies and artificial intelligence to improve the oncology care pathway. And third, it's all about the patient. Yeah, so those are the three different themes, the three different work streams we have been working on. So here on the slide, just, oh, I'm sorry, go back. Right across the three tracks, the fantastic startup or scale-up companies, I even have to say, we have had a pleasure to work with the last couple of months. And the most of them you will see just in a few minutes. So look, and I think this is also, especially if there are people here from startup companies, a few thoughts on the value proposition for a digital healthcare AI startup to work in a program like this or in the Edison Accelerator. First and foremost, and I mentioned this earlier, what we provide, due to the fact that we closely work with healthcare institutions, we provide validated problem statements, meaning that when you join this program, you work on something that is really important, that is really pressing, where healthcare institutions need help with. That's number one. The second is you get access to GE Healthcare's Edison platform, right? A technology stack you can build up on. Third is, if required, you can also have access to data. And then, of course, in terms of venture support, we have a quite extensive mentorship curriculum you can benefit from. And also on the right-hand side, on top, I think that's also something important, opportunities to run pilots and proof of concepts at a, let's say, later stage in the program. At the bottom of the screen, what you can see there is something where a global corporate, a global company like GE Healthcare can help with the most. I mean, we as a global medtech and diagnostics innovator operating in more than 160 countries, we can really support the best in go-to-market and commercialization. So on the next slide, I just very quickly would like to show you the great healthcare institutions we have been partnering with in 2021. On the left-hand side in our track 1, the East Midlands Imaging Network. For our track 2, all around oncology, we have been partnering with Alliance Medical. And on track 3, it was Ribera Salud, a big group out of Spain, and Manchester University. So, and very quickly here for healthcare institutions to work with us in a program like this, I think they were exposed really to like the talent in the digital health space, right? To like process how digital technologies are developed, and they're exposed to this kind of different world that is very different to healthcare software development, and really had a chance to influence and help really building the solution. We are now preparing our 2022 program. We are in the midst of the ideation and preparation process. Scouting for our next year program is expected to start at some point in Q1 next year. I mean, look, as a healthcare institution, if people are here from healthcare institutions, if people are here from technology providers or venture capital, if you're interested and want to know more about this program, feel free to reach out. If you are from a startup, make sure you stay close to us, reach out if you have more questions. Again, Scouting is going to start Q1. What we do right now, just to let you know, is we now work with healthcare institutions to define the specific problem statements we want to address and work on next year. Yeah? So the Scouting will be based on specific defined use cases or problem statements. So look, before I stop, and I know I'm running late already a little bit, there are quite a lot of factors, right, for success to make a program like this successful. But I think there are really two that stand out. One is you need to be aligned. You need to be aligned across all stakeholders. You need to have like one mission that drives all of you together, right? And there must be something for all the stakeholders involved. That's number one, and I think that's very obvious. But the second thing is, and for me personally, this is the most important one. At the end of the day, it's all about the people that are involved, right? All those very passionate founders of the companies or the team, a very passionate project team on the healthcare provider side. And when you find the right people, right, to collaborate really on an individual level and they work well together, I think this is really something that that is key to success. Look, I'm going to close here and hand over to the first startups now. Just one more thing. In 1878, Thomas Alva Edison founded General Electric, right? So ages ago. And he used to say, there is a better way to do it. Find it. So thank you very much. And I would like to hand over to Stine from Radiobotics.
Yes. 5 minutes. Thank you. All right. Can you hear me, everyone? So, hi, my name is Stine Sorensen. I'm the COO and the co-founder of Radiobotics. Radiobotics is a company that's here to build machine learning algorithms that detect diseases in plain 2D X-rays, meaning that we're specializing in the imaging field within radiology. So really, one of the problems we're trying to solve, we're not trying to solve everything what Jan just said, because that is extremely difficult. There has to be many of us to do this. We're trying to focus on a specific problem within the field of X-rays. So every year, more than 250 million images are taken in Europe and US combined. The number of the qualified clinicians that could read those images is not growing nearly at the same rate. In fact, it takes more than 10 years to become a radiologist. That leads to fatal errors, delays in detection, and also stress to the radiologist. And because of the nature of X-rays within bones and joints is not necessarily acute, you actually see that in hospitals, many of them are left unreported. And that is a great case for where you should introduce technology, because we're not talking about life-threatening decisions and situations, but we're looking into something where technology would fit very well. So really, we have been working with top clinicians around the world. This is one of the Danish leading professors in MSK radiology that we worked very closely with. And he has helped us develop our first product where we're trying to solve a fraction of the problem. So this is really what you see, what we've been working on. This is our first algorithm that can automatically detect osteoarthritis in the knees. What we have done is that we have a secondary capture with an overlay on top of the image indicating the clinical findings. We also automatically compile a structured report that goes straight into the electronic health records. This has both been CE marked under MDR certifications and just FDA cleared as a 510K clearance. So we are both available in Europe, UK, and in the US, which we are obviously very proud of. We cannot solve this by just having one algorithm that detects diseases in the knees. We obviously have to cover the full skeleton. So Radiobotics is really here within 3 years' time, trying to cover 70% of the entire skeleton. And we have actually just last night signed a deal with US largest teleradiology company to build 11 more products in 1 year. So when we're doing this and why we really are here is obviously to show that we bring value to both the patients by having it more accurate, more precise, and obviously more fast. We're also here to show that radiologists, they need help. They need to become better at what they already do so that we can give them the technology. We're not here to replace anybody, but we're here to help them with what they already do. And then we can also show that actually having algorithms that works the same way every time is also showing great value in the consistency. And that's really also what is needed in the hospitals. So we're here to show value to all parts of the chain, obviously. We are founded in Denmark, which is very nice. And here you can build technology, but scaling and commercial opportunities is obviously here in the UK and the US. And that's really what we're focusing on. That's also why we're very happy to be part of the GE Edison Accelerator program, both working with GE and also the IMRAD imaging network. Radiobotics is 4 years old. We have done tons of things. Some of the things that you're most proud of is obviously that we have been nominated as a future potential unicorn within the digital Europe. I'm not sure we will be that, but at least it shows that we have great potential to solve great problems. We also, we're something employees. You never know how many you hired since you left the office. And we raised $7.2 million. We are active in the US and in the UK as well. We have our first clients, 5 of those we installed in 16 hospitals around Europe as well. And this, I didn't do this all by myself, by surprise. This is my 3 other co-founders that is specialized in clinical research, machine learning, and obviously also within the MSK area. These 3, we started it, but obviously with the rest of the team, that's how you achieve great things. So that's really, we are specialized within deep learning, machine learning, and also computer vision. So that's really what we do. And then regulatory affairs. We are currently raising money. Those money will be spent into commercialization and also presence in more countries, developing more products. And to sum it all up, I think we are solving some very relevant and problems that needs to be solved right now. We also believe that we build great technology where we have several patents pending, trying to protect what we do. And also, we've done this working very closely with clinicians, because as a startup, you might have great engineers, but you need to do this relatively close with the field you're deploying this. And we're very proud that we're working with some of the leading hospitals in the world. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Anthony from Lucida Medical.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Hello, I'm Dr. Anthony Ricks. I'm CEO of Lucida Medical. What motivates us? Half of the people in this room will develop cancer in their lifetimes. If we find it early, it can often be easily cured. But also, half of all cancers are found late, when they're symptomatic and spreading. And that's a race against evolution that medicine often loses. Our focus is prostate cancer. It's the most common male cancer in the developed world. 56% of prostate cancer in England is found late, and it's a bigger killer than breast cancer. And as well as this, it's a substantial market with an immediate need for AI, which I'll come back to in a minute. So this is what MRI looks like with prostate cancer. Pre-biopsy MRI was mandated in 2019 around the world. It's now reshaping the whole process of prostate cancer diagnosis across the developed world, and also treatment. And it's going to be completely key to future screening programs that we need to address those problems of late diagnosis. So MRI is exciting because it's widely available, the cost is falling, and it's safe, it's radiation-free. By imaging multiple different physical parameters, here apparent diffusion and T2 structural imaging, we can really kind of get the information that we need to distinguish benign conditions that don't need investigation or treatment from serious stuff that does. Just a moment back to AI. The thing is, working out where cancer is in these images is not straightforward. As Jan highlighted, a radiologist might see 50,000 images in one day, and a cancer could be a few millimeters that's apparent on just one of those images, or maybe just 2. Machines can look at this much more repeatably, help us avoid that issue of the shortage of experts by making the experts that we have much more productive, and also help to avoid the fatigue-induced problems of missing cancers. About 20% of prostate cancers are missed, and improve their specificity so we don't over-investigate, so we don't over-treat. So this screenshot shows the outputs of Lucida Medical's PI software, or prostate intelligence, for the same patient that I showed before. It's running in GE's viewer technology in the data center of EMRAD, the East Midlands Imaging Network. It's a group of 8 NHS trusts. PI brings the repeatability and accuracy of AI to streamline the analysis of reporting of MRI. It's a CE marked medical device. We'll get our FDA approval next year. But as well as integrating with the hospital systems, it's crucial that AI and any of these new technologies must fit clinicians' workflow and pathways. And this is something that we've specifically designed in right from the start. So to use our technology, firstly, a patient has a pre-biopsy MRI under the test like PSA, completely as normal. Our software then analyzes the data and presents its results to a radiologist who can then interact with it to help them more accurately locate cancer and rule out cases that don't need a biopsy. And then finally, clinicians, the whole clinical team, have all of the information they need for a biopsy if it's necessary, for diagnosis, and for treatment. For the patient, they get reassurance and exactly the treatment that they need. And the critical thing is we're trying to do this more accurately than ever before. So we at Lucida Medical are in a unique position to harness the power of AI for prostate MRI. Unlike our competitors, Pi lets radiologists use their standard workflow software. You don't have to upgrade your IT, and that makes it much easier for hospitals to adopt. We uniquely focus on making radiologists more efficient at finding prostate cancer. And this is helped by our novel combination of image processing and machine learning, which allows us to train our models with very much less data and achieve higher accuracy, and also gives us a strong basis of intellectual property. And finally, we'll cement these advantages through our pair clinical studies. These are providing us with multi-vendor, multi-center pathway data, exactly the sorts of patients that the software would be used on, to help us make future versions of Pi even more accurate in real-world use. So a little bit about the team. My name is Anthony. I'm here at the top. I'm lucky to work with an absolutely amazing team spanning clinical and AI research and also scaling out software. I gained my PhD and built my first startup 20 years ago when I won an international competition building an AI, of all things, to measure the quality of telephone calls. And it's still the standard that's used today. We spun a company out. Cognix was acquired in 2011. My colleague Mark Hinton, our CTO, built Image Analysis Group into a global medical imaging CRO with multi-million-dollar turnover. And last but very much not least, she's at RSNA today. Professor Evis Sala is an internationally recognized expert in medical imaging and AI. She's known in the US because she recently spent 6 years at Memorial Sloan Kettering as head of body imaging there. And she's now professor of oncological imaging at the University of Cambridge. Our £1.7 million seed investment was led by XTX and included 8 leading prostate cancer clinicians, as well as prostate cancer research and Sarsen Ventures. So just a bit about where we are today. So if you're from a hospital or health system and you're interested in what we're doing, we'd love to work with you to test and integrate Pi in your workflow. We're also looking to meet investors and discuss our next round. We'll be raising from early 2022 to take us into the United States, complete the FDA approval that I mentioned, and really enable us to grow to address this very exciting opportunity to find cancer precisely using MRI. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anthony. So there was radiology, right? Medical imaging. I hope you found it interesting. I think two very important and exciting, let's say, solutions. But now moving over to something very different and introducing Tim from My Clinical Outcomes.
Thanks, Jan. Hello, everyone. Lovely to be here. My name is Tim Williams. I'm the founder and CEO of My Clinical Outcomes. We are a digital patient-reported outcome measures platform for routine clinical practice. What are PROMs? PROMs are structured clinical surveys that come out of the literature and quantify the impact of a condition on a patient's life at a point in time. We make it possible to systematically and at scale measure these outcomes regularly, remotely, and throughout the full cycle of care, and present that information back in a useful and usable way to patients and their doctors. To give an example, a key randomized control trial was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association in 2017. They looked at about 800 patients with advanced metastatic cancer, and they showed that in patients that had the opportunity to self-report symptoms remotely, and for their clinical teams to use and react to that data, 31% of those patients experienced better physical function and quality of life. There was a 7% reduction in emergency room visits, and these patients could tolerate their chemotherapy on average 2 months longer. Combined, those added up to a survival benefit of 5 months, and 8% more of these patients were alive at 5 years. Our story started back in 2011, and we're currently up and running in just over 100 hospitals in the UK and Ireland. We've got more than 1,200 clinicians using the platform and more than 95,000 patients. We don't just work in oncology, we consider ourselves condition and score agnostic. So we work with teams to configure the platform around their needs. And we're currently touching just over 80 conditions with more than 70 validated assessments in the platform. And to give a sense of scale, we're sending out of the order of 16,000 automated assessments a month to patients, asking them to update their scores. This is a snapshot of our current partners and clients. Our very first was Royal Cornwall Hospitals over there on the right. We've been working with them since 2012, supporting a virtual clinic follow-up pathway for hip and knee replacement patients, allowing surgeons to make sure that patients stay safe and well over the long term after their hip and knee replacements. We do lots in the private sector. Can't quite see it, but tucked around the corner here, we've worked with Spire Healthcare since 2016. We're in all 39 of their hospitals doing this in 7 different care pathways. And increasingly, as I've alluded to, we're working in oncology. We had a great opportunity back in 2017 where we came first out of 130 businesses funded by the Scottish Funding Council to develop out our solution for cancer patients in Scotland. As a result, we're currently working across 8 health boards in 12 tumour types. And finally, because it's kind of interesting, we're working out how to partner with industry and make these approaches useful and usable by them, but also acceptable to the clinicians that they're wanting to partner with. To the platform itself, it's always configured around local needs so that patients get the right combinations of assessments that are useful for them and useful to their clinical teams. Those clinicians get access to that data in real time, but we don't dictate how they make use of it. But often clinicians want to use it around their clinical practice or to redesign services around this data, taking the opportunity to make more informed reviews in a more timely way. And finally, we have a great team who provide really rich analytics to optimize uptake and make sure that clients are getting the best out of this. And we seamlessly integrate into electronic medical records, provider BI systems, registries, and regulators. So why do this? Well, to summarize, on the outcome side, clinicians interacting with patients in a more dynamic way according to their needs allows them to get more patients onto the right medicines faster, driving improved outcomes. But also having richer information about quality of life than there's time to gather in the clinical consultation allows them to intervene and add in therapies and provide additional support to tune quality of life. For their part, patients really appreciate this. They don't want to waste doctors' time and they don't want to travel in unnecessarily. They appreciate a more timely and informed interaction with their doctors. And they really appreciate that the clinician already has information about how they've been when they show up to see them or when they dial into a virtual call. And then from an organizational and operational point of view, this allows us to prioritize really limited, increasingly limited capacity according to patients' needs to drive effectiveness and efficiency of consultations and pathways and take out the cost of unwarranted variation. Important part of that being by avoiding acute admissions. So to oncology. So for a long time, for the first 5 or 6 years of our story, we thought oncology was too complex. But having had the opportunity to play in Scotland, and increasingly with ICSs and trusts around the UK, we're finding that it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard to start. And that there are opportunities to start to intervene at 3 key phases of the pathway. The first being supporting acute care. There's huge value in gathering really rich symptom and side effect data from patients in between chemotherapy visits so that you can pick up the phone or know what action needs to be taken to keep patients as well as possible so that they can tolerate their chemotherapy. When patients have finished treatment or between cycles of treatment, there's a real opportunity to prioritize the limited demands of the service according to their needs and to intervene in a more personalized way. That might mean not seeing the patient as frequently, or it might mean replacing a face-to-face consultation with an informed phone or video consultation. And finally, there's a safety element here. So if we're able to keep track of patients for the long term after treatment, we can spot signs of late toxicity, late effects, and intervene early. Tucked down the bottom here, this is our range of current cancer partners in a rough timeline. Most recently, for the last 18 months, we've been working with University Hospital Sussex, soon to be Sussex ICS, and through the fantastic GE Accelerator program, we've had the opportunity to bring routine outcomes monitoring to the diagnostic pathway for the first time by partnering with Alliance Medical. So to finish with the quote, as all the best do. So this is JJ de Goethe, was for a long time Chief Medical Officer at Spire. And he really taught us that the way to start is to go for it, not to be too ambitious, start small and to scale out the benefits. And what he says is that we're really driving clinical and operational benefits from doing this. And therefore, the opportunity to scale this to more and more patients just grows all the time. If any of that's of interest, I'd love to hear from you. Please get in touch by email or catch us on Twitter. Thank you very much.
Tim, thank you very much. And what he said is very important, right? If you are interested, even if it's not your domain, I believe just connecting with people does make sense, right? You can always learn a lot. So I really encourage everybody to get in touch with the people you see here on stage. Next is Paul from Sprite.
Thank you very much. I don't have any slides, so it makes it very easy. My name is indeed Paul Eyes. I am one of the co-founders of Sprite, and I'm here to talk to you today really about the no-show problem in the healthcare industry. Now, we've been looking at the no-show problem now for only a couple of years. We're a relatively new startup, and every year in the UK, over £1 billion will be wasted because people do not attend appointments. If you extrapolate that to the US, it balloons to $150 billion. Quite clearly, there's a large problem. It's even more acute in areas such as screenings and referrals, where you find between 30 and 50% of patients will not attend an appointment. Now, in practice, I guess there's a lot of reasons why someone might miss an appointment. These range from a fear of finding out or getting a negative diagnosis to simply forgetting that they had the appointment in the first place. And whilst it's quite easy to measure what the cost is to the healthcare practitioner of that individual missed appointment, what is very much less clear is what is the long-term effects to the system as a whole, or even to the patient of not receiving a timely diagnosis or medical intervention. Now, how does Sprite go about trying to solve this problem? Well, I guess philosophically, what we're trying to do is to use what is the client-specific behavior, and then to incorporate that understanding into driving a personalized action plan or personalized engagement with that client, and thereby reducing the DNAs. That's the philosophy, but how do we do it in practice? I was reading an interesting report by McKinsey, which stated that the #1 method of getting punters into your digital health app was through convenience. Now, any of you who've tried to book a GP appointment where you have to call between the hours of 8:30 and 8:31 probably appreciate this fact. But convenience is really central to everything we're trying to achieve. There are 3 key pillars, however. The first of which is our smart assistant, ASA, which will allow patients, to book via WhatsApp or reschedule appointments. The key being it's a technology people are already very familiar with. They're comfortable with using it, and it doesn't require people to download a new app or perhaps visit a web page. The second is how we use AI really to predict which are the patients most at risk of not attending. This will then pass on insights to the clinical staff, who will be able to concentrate their efforts obviously on those patients most at risk of missing an appointment. And finally, we're working very closely with a number of academics and looking very closely, particularly in the fields of linguistics and behavioral science, and looking closely how we can move the needle by a better use of language. You know, a number of inequalities have been built into the system over time because of the one-size-fits-all approach to things, particularly like health screenings, etc. And there are groups of people who historically have not been attending. So we're looking closely at how can we change the language or the message to assuage fears and help those people attend. So I guess that's a little bit about Sprite. I want to talk a little bit about why I'm on the stage now. I thought we had a different slide, but we don't appear to. So why did we elect to join the GE Accelerator? And we're a lot earlier stage. We were still in the process of building our MVP at the time. So why did we choose to come on board? I think both my co-founder, who's somewhere around here, and myself, Dara, had a very clear idea. We've been around the startup world for some time and had a very clear idea of what it was we were looking for. You'll have heard it a lot of times today. Obviously, collaboration is the key with any startup, but it's really about finding the right partners. And I think what attracted us to GE, and Jan said it very well, much better than I could, is they had a very specific problem. A lot of times you'll read looking for startups in the healthcare sector who use AI or something very general. But this problem, and it obviously helped that we were trying to solve that problem, but the problem was very specific. The use case was very clear, and it gave us a lot of comfort that we were both pulling on the rope in the same direction, and that we could effectively, go out there and they would be providing as much input as we would be with in this case. As I said, it was a very new product, and our idea was to find a very product-focused accelerator type program, and then get involved and validate and create our product in such a way, particularly while the clay was still wet, as it were, on developing the product at the time. So we liked that about it. I guess how it went was very much in line with our hopes. I think it was a tremendous success as far as we were concerned. The product itself is barely recognizable from that which we started with. Over the 8 months, we've not only increased our team significantly, both in the technical and on the project side, but we've also changed the product. We've received a lot of the mentoring that was mentioned earlier by Jan has been particularly useful in areas such as pricing and go-to-market, etc. So that's been very helpful, but we've managed to get our product onto the Edison marketplace, which again was a great success for us. We're looking forward, obviously, to the benefits that will provide, particularly things like, increased scale, ease of access, omni-channel communications. We've also, as with the previous speaker, Tim, we've also been working closely with Alliance Medical. A lot of it behind the scenes so far because we haven't really been able to meet in person and really delve out what the problem is. But we'll hopefully be launching a pilot early in the new year, really to trial out the systems. So that's a little bit about how things have gone in terms of the accelerator. I'm being given the signal, which I assume means I've got 1 minute left. So I will just say, if you like what you've heard today, please, if it hasn't been clear already, we're very open to talking to anyone. We'd love to hear from you. We will be raising money in the new year. So if that's your bag, please do get in touch as well. The details are on the website, sprite.com. And we look forward to hearing you. Thank you very much.
Paul, thank you very much. So surprisingly, Alfonso, there is still time for you left. So Alfonso from Legit Health, coming over from Bilbao in Spain. Stage is yours, Alfonso. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Alfonso Medela, co-founder and chief AI officer of Legit Health. Legit Health is the first platform in the market that uses AI algorithms to diagnose and assess the severity of skin pathologies. Using clinically validated scoring systems, the tool is able to monitor the evolution of skin pathologies and also analyze the effectiveness of treatments. But not just that, it also creates alerts so the physicians can prioritize the cases according to severity. So let me ask you a question. What does this person have? Thomas? Correct. Correct. This person has psoriasis, and we call this diagnosis. The tool diagnoses 232 skin pathologies just by looking at an image. But now let's change the question and make it more specific. How much of psoriasis? What would you say? So this is a more difficult question, and actually all of them could be correct. It depends on what and how we're measuring. For example, a disease could be 32% dry, can be a certain dimension, or for example, it can be 2% better than yesterday. This is what we call severity assessment, and this is our value proposition and competitive advantage. So all this that we do is thanks to the deep learning and computer vision algorithms, which are clinically validated and have a very high sensitivity and specificity. And Legit Health is a CE mark tool classified as a medical device. But how does it work? So severity assessment is usually performed using the tools that are called scoring systems. However, these scoring systems have a lot of problems. They have evolved from pen and paper to digital calculators, which still require input from the specialist. The problem is that they have a very high variability and are subject to error. So in Legit Health, we have created the first automatic scoring systems. So we called this the APROM. Sorry. The APROM, the Automatic Patient Reported Outcome Measures. And this means automatically filling every parameter that is visual in those scoring systems. For example, we measure the redness, induration, or the size of a disease. And this completely depends on the pathology we are measuring. For example, what we do is we base our algorithms in clinically validated scoring systems for one and each of the pathology. So let me tell you a bit of the journey. The web application can be used by both the doctors and the patients, and it works as follows. So first of all, the centers creates an account for the patient. Then the patient can log in and start uploading pictures. Those pictures are processed by the algorithms. First of all, a quality check algorithm, then the diagnosis, and then the severity assessment. All this generates a very, very complete report for the physician that then, after he confirms the pathology, the patient will receive all the data, like, for example, the diagnosis, the severity, or other doctor's notes or treatment. Finally, this happens in an autonomous cycle as the patient will receive alerts to upload more pictures. So, of course, we have competition and we surely all do diagnosis. However, some of them focus on a very specific disease like skin cancer. On the other hand, Legit Health diagnoses a wider range of pathologies, 232, and we also perform the severity assessment. In addition, using that data, we are able to analyze the effectiveness of treatments. So why should you invest in us? So currently, we have 3 customer segments, starting from medical centers to insurance companies to pharma companies, and we already got paying customers in one of the segments, in each of the segments. For example, we work with the group Rivera Salud, the one that took part also in the Edison Accelerator. We work also, for example, with the Hospital Universitario Torrejón, part of the Rivera Group, DKV, insurance company, or, for example, Novartis. And the web application is very easy to access. It can be accessed, of course, from any browser, any device, and there is no need to install the software. In addition to the web application, we also have an API, so it can be very easily integrated in any ecosystem. So the founding team is a multidisciplinary team. We are experts in technology, and also we have an entrepreneurial background. And of course, we work alongside doctors who help to develop and also validate the technology. And of course, also with a great team of mentors that have helped us during our journey. So to finish, what we are looking for investors. We'll be soon opening a new financial round. So we'll be very eager to meet you and to tell you more about our business. So thank you very much. And here's our contact.
Alfonso, thank you very much. And that's it. So this was a brief overview about the Edison Accelerator 2021. As I said earlier, if you are interested to know more, find the people, right? Everybody's here. Talk to them, ask your questions, reach out to us online. If you are interested in our program next year, right? Stay tuned, follow the hashtag Edison Accelerator. We'll publish more information very soon. Thanks a lot for your interest. Thanks for joining us today. Great to talk to you. Thank you.
Just before we break for lunch, I want to tell you about something very exciting that the giant chairman, Professor Shafi Ahmed, has founded back in 2016. I think we had the first cohort in 2017 in January, and I've been part of it single year since. The program started as BARTS-X, which was in the official curriculum of the Barts Med School, taking medical students and educating them in innovation and entrepreneurship. And that program has recently rolled out to Imperial. I think this is now the third cohort at Imperial. And in a Change to the Public published program today, we've invited them here to pitch what they came up with in, I think it was 5-6 days, something like that. So I'm just going to leave them to it to introduce Cognix and what the problem they're solving and how they're solving it. Go for it.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here. So, and thank you for that lovely introduction. So we are Team Cognix and we're excited to be here and present our app. So what are we solving? Dementia. Everyone knows what dementia is, but do you actually know the problem that it poses? So let's look at some numbers. 850,000 people are diagnosed with dementia in the UK alone. And what's worse, a third of the cases are estimated to be missed, and it costs the UK £23 billion per annum.
So addressing this problem through the 4 U's of a valuable problem model, the increasingly aging population is an unavoidable reality, as it's been estimated that by 2030, 1 in 5 people will be 65 or over. Now, the COVID pandemic, as I'm sure we all can attest to, has forced many of us into isolation, especially those high-risk individuals within the elderly population. Studies have shown that this isolation has accelerated the rate of cognitive decline in patients with dementia, therefore exacerbating this risk. Okay. So from our own personal first-hand experiences on medical wards, we've seen how time-consuming and laborious it can be to complete one of these cognitive assessments, such as the MOCA test. And we also conducted a survey of medical students who also, the majority of which agree with this statement. Now, lastly, patients with dementia and underserved population. I say this because many of them receive a late diagnosis, which oftentimes leads to poorer outcomes and a lower quality of life, therefore resulting in increased costs for the healthcare sector. Now, taking all of this into consideration, I hope you'll all agree with us in saying that this is a significant problem. Now, Serena, is there anything we can do about this?
You're completely right, Emmanuel. This is a massive problem which we must tackle immediately. Thankfully, we've come up with a solution. Allow us to present Cognix.
So we are Cognix, remote gamification of the MOCA tool, reducing NHS burden and improving clinical outcomes. Why? By establishing earlier screening of cognitive impairment.
So what makes us so special? At Cognix, we combine exciting games with the clinically validated MOCA tool to allow for mild cognitive impairment screening remotely. We are a time and cost-effective solution which can be perfectly integrated into NHS clinical practice due to the routine use of the MOCA tool in practice. Therefore, this allows us to save clinician and consultation time, screen for mild cognitive impairment remotely, and implement checkpoints to screen for red flags in cognitive decline, thus democratizing assessment for care to those who need it, all from the comfort of their own homes. So as you can see, there are numerous studies in the wider literature which support the use of MOCA in the remote setting. thus making our intervention, Cognix, completely feasible into NHS clinical practice.
So, who are we creating value for? So, first of all, we are creating value for public and private healthcare sectors by reducing consultation times and ensuring that we offset costs from late diagnosis and late treatment. But who are we targeting? Well, as my colleague said before, we are targeting those at risk, especially the aging population. We are selling comfortable screening, providing longer and a better life. We've identified three main competitors: Savonix, Lumosity, and MyCognition. As illustrated here, we all provide a platform for engaging and fun cognitive assessments. However, we are confident that through our platform, we've utilized a validated and researched cognitive assessment tool. We aim specifically at the UK clinical practice, similar to MyCognition. Furthermore, we ensure that by testing every 2 weeks and increasing the gain variations, we reduce the testing effect and increase the accuracy of our results. Therefore, we're quite confident that through our platform, we establish value. How? We ensure that data is easily transferable to the UK and NHS practice. So we fill the gap in the market. Research has shown the need for well-validated and reliable clinical tools compared to what's already in the industry.
So highlighting a few features of our user interface, as you can see on the screen, we've created a mascot known as Cogni, who help to guide the user through a series of fun and interactive games. Other features include our personal leaderboards, which will be found alongside the secondary brain training games that will be featured in the paid version of the app. And additionally, we've also implemented shared message boards, which will help to create a sense of community and also minimize the stigma that surrounds dementia. General practitioners will also receive all patient data and will be alerted for any worryingly low scores. And here we can see a few mock-ups of what the app will look like. For example, the personal leaderboard, as well as one of the games.
So we've identified three main partnerships and customer bases that we'd like to work with at Cognix. Firstly, we'd like to target the healthcare providers themselves. So this would be NHS and also private healthcare providers. And this would be so that we can distribute our service to the patients directly. Firstly, we'd like to start with Imperial Healthcare Trust, as that they are close to home for us. We'd also like to work with non-profit organisations such as Alzheimer's Society and Age UK, and this would allow us to increase our reach towards more high-risk patients, as well as gain a further insight into customer research. Finally, once we've obtained enough data from the app, we'd then like to outsource to research groups to aid in clinical trials.
So how exactly are we going to distribute our product and get it into customers' hands? So the main model that we're going to use is a B2b model, so directly to businesses. So we're going to, as Serena said, we're going to go to healthcare services such as Imperial Trust, and we will sell them a package and they can prescribe the app to their patients to use. Next, we will then target the high-risk users that we've been talking about. So we'll do this directly through social media. So we'll use interaction and emotional interaction, and we'll go through services such as Facebook, Instagram, and also hopefully like in-app ads and advertisements like that. Finally, we'll go to the clinical research organizations after we've been running for a while and we've got enough data that we can then sell, and this can be useful for them to recruit participants for their clinical trials.
Thank you. So we want to establish a three-pronged model to increase our business yield. As my colleague said before, we start with a phase one where we base our costs based on the patients at risk. For example, in the Imperial Healthcare Trust, as a case study, we utilized audit data and national averages to estimate approximately 240,000 patients over the age of 65, and we utilized that data for our costs. In phase two, once we've established a reliable and wide market enough, we'll switch to a public and freemium model. This ensures that, for example, we have a free trial for more cognitive games, and then this switches to a monthly or yearly subscription. But this excludes the mocker game, which is, of course, free. And as detailed here, we have in-app advertisements and cost per actions to increase our ROI. And phase three, as said previously, will sell anonymized data to CROs. For example, Biogen recently developed a new drug for Alzheimer's and require need for patient data.
When we approach the healthcare services, we plan to charge them £150 per 100 patients. So this is a package. And how did we come up with this value? It's not something that we just plucked out of thin air, but we calculated the value that we're adding. So so what we are replacing is a cognitive tool called Mocha, and that takes around 20 minutes. And if we take into consideration the staff salaries of, the doctors that will be providing these Mocha tests, we've calculated that it takes around £600 per 100 patients. And we've actually divided this by 4. So we're just going to charge £1.50 per patient, so £150 per 100 patients. So that is a financial profit, and it creates a greater return of investments. But not only does it do that, but it also frees up resources and staff to be used elsewhere.
So as said previously, we utilized audit data and national averages to get an average of the number of patients, and we used that data. We've estimated the cost of app development and marketing to be roughly 240,000, and utilizing audit data, we've assumed there'll be 360,000 return. So what's next? First of all, to gain traction, we need to utilize surveys and audit data to assess audience perspective and to gauge our value in the market, as well as costing pricing. We also then need to gain seed money to allow us to work with the market team to develop standardized, conduct pilot studies. Now, for future scaling, we need to increase the number of fun games to maintain user engagement, as well as work with more trust to increase the user base. And based on economy of scale, as the user base increases, the cost per unit decreases, and therefore we aim to increase our competitive position in the market.
And why us? Hopefully we've illustrated that we're quite passionate about solving this problem, and we've got a plan to do so.
So, life is but a string of experiences, and we are but a mere reflection of our memories. So help us, help you, guard your stories and the stories you're yet to make. Who do you know that this could help? Cognix, guarding your ability to be you. Thank you for listening.
So just to reiterate, these are 4 intercalating med students. Yeah, they had 5 days to work on this, to think about a problem, a validated problem statement, and to come up with this pitch. I think what really stood out for us with this particular team was it was an incredibly simple proposition, taking a clinically validated tool that is analog and transforming it digitally to make it work better. I think they're ripe for someone to come in and help them get to an MVP. It's so simple. So I hope if there are any people who are involved in accelerators or or investors out here, to please do find these guys and talk to them. I said if they can come up with something so robust in just a few days, this is the future. In fact, actually, all of these guys, a lot of the guys here are also part of Imperial. These are our future, and we really need to encourage the clinicians of the future to innovate and identify the problems that most need to be solved. So please, can I have one more big round of applause to Imperial X and to the Cognix team?